Hi, this is David with the Discount Dragon, and today we are going off on a new sort of topic. This is about hypnosis and augmented reality. Now, augmented reality is a concept where you would have something like a set of Google glasses, and it would overlay images onto what you're seeing. Like you would see an apple, and it would overlay text, like projected onto the glasses, that would show up in your eyes and say, apple, golden delicious, or whatever. Now, this technology is progressing. It is going to be expensive, and it is going to take time to get to where it is really useful and fully applicable to somebody's daily life. I have had for a long time a theory about another sort of mechanism for doing augmented reality. And it's something that could be implemented by the individual for a net cost of zero. Now, let us talk about a kind of popular science fiction convention, which is the intelligence pill. And this is the intelligence pill as exhibited in shows and/or movies like Limitless. Now, Limitless is a really good movie and an okay TV show. And essentially, it centers around this pill. They had it called NZT. And what happens is when you take NZT, you are able to use your brain to its full potential. And you can do all kinds of amazing things. You become hyper productive. You can kind of see things no one else sees. It has a lot of effects. The thing is, NZT, the way that it is portrayed in the movie, is not going to happen. The reason for this is because it rewires the brain in a way that you could not do with an actual chemical. These effects could be achieved with something like nanotechnology. But that's a whole different animal from what's portrayed in the movie and what we currently have available. I had gone off on a different tangent, which is augmented reality through hypnosis. Now, hypnosis is kind of tricky because some people treat it like some sort of voodoo practice that you either believe in or you don't believe in. You say hypnosis and people are saying, I don't believe in that. And it's not something that's really in that category. It is a real phenomena, and it can be extremely versatile if used properly. Now, it doesn't work for everyone, and this is a popular misconception, and one of the people that has really, or one of the classes of people that have really pushed this misconception are hypnotists. Because if you take the proportion of the population that are really, really good hypnotic subjects, you're not going to make a living off of them because it's a small proportion of the population. You can see this sort of effect when you go to a stage hypnotist. And what a stage hypnotist does is they take a large audience, and the reason they have a large audience is partly because they want a large sample size so that a small proportion of that audience can be affected by what they're doing and be a good example. So they'll take a large audience and they will try to influence the audience. And then they'll take the people that seem to be influenced and move them up onto stage. And then they will whittle this down until they end up with what they believe are good hypnotic subjects. Now, hypnosis can achieve a lot of really interesting results. And among other things, you can create visual hallucinations, you can create auditory hallucinations, and you can create tactile hallucinations. So you can create hallucinations of every variety. And properly controlled, I believe that that can be harnessed to produce an augmented reality effect. So I haven't really got any traction on this talking to other people. One or two people were interested, but it really hasn't gone anywhere. So I just decided I would come here and share it with you, and if somebody wants to pursue this further, maybe it will benefit somebody out there. Now, one of the problems with using hypnosis as a platform for augmented reality is that hypnosis potentially has the danger of kind of leading you down a rabbit hole and messing up your brain. So one of the important aspects of this would be to hypnotize someone, get them to the state where they could conduct their own experiments, but leave them in control. So my solution for this was to come up with something like an old keyboard. Here I have not an old keyboard, but I do have a keyboard. But select a keyboard that doesn't function, and then write some kind of code phrase on it, so you know that is your keyboard that is going to affect the augmented reality you're creating. And then decide upon an operating system and a language that you are going to use in order to create these augmented reality programs within your own mind. The thing is, a lot of the effects that you see in a movie like Limitless can be achieved by an ordinary person just making use of the inherent capacity of the human brain. It doesn't take someone who's a genius. Of course, more intelligence is always helpful in all aspects. But essentially, what you would do is you would achieve a state of deep hypnosis, and you would put a suggestion in place that when you take a keyboard like this and type in whatever augmented reality program you want to put in place, that augmented reality effect would function. For instance, something like, when I say the word green, I see a green ball floating in the air 3 feet from my hand. So out here, I see a green ball floating in space. Now, the other thing you want to do is make sure that at all times that you're aware that it is a hallucination and that the ball is not real. So that would all be built into this whole substrate, into the substrate of this whole process. You would be able to create visual, tactile, and auditory hallucinations that were controllable, and at all times be aware that they were indeed artificial. So, in other words, if you're walking down the street and you tell yourself, highlight in red all loose change on the ground. Now, you may not be paying attention to it because you're reading a newspaper, or you're listening to your iPod, or you're thinking about girls, or whatever, but you've got this program in place that says highlighted in red if there's loose change on the ground, and the quarter sitting out here gets like a little red flag or something, and you go and pick it up. So it could be used a lot of different ways. You could have a calculator, because you can do math better than you can normally do math. And this has been proven under the effect of hypnosis in other experiments. So your capacity for doing mathematics is higher than your functional capacity for doing mathematics, because you're not focused on it, and it's not really running at full capacity. So you could have a calculator built in. You could have a lot of different functionality. Really, the effects are pretty limitless. But also you could use it for memorizing things. You could play back videos you had watched previously. You could have have like a file of passwords, so you don't have to have it stored on a hard drive or have it stored on a physical piece of paper. A lot of the things that you would use a portable electronic device for, but you could build it into your own brain. The potential is really, really huge. I'm not going to get into all the details because I'll leave it to you to sit down and think about this. Now, I really don't know how to explain this fully, but this would give you most everything you need to increase your efficiency just across the board throughout life. I mean, if you want to not get hit by cars, it's like you just make yourself more aware of it, flag the car before it hits you, things like that. If you wanted to cue yourself into body language, you could watch videos on body language and then have a little readout that tells you about what the body language of the person is telling you you're not getting at a conscious level, so you can react at a conscious level. It goes on and on and on. So, that is the basic concept. Get yourself into a deep state of hypnosis and get the basic concept and specifics set up. Here's the keyboard. If it has this code on it, you and you alone can type on it and create programs that will do specific things. And then once they're in place, you can turn them on or off and make them functional in your reality. Superimpose little lines and little captions and little icons in your field of view. And of course, a lot of the things that people claim that they can do with hypnosis, such as stopping smoking, or changing their eating habits, or improving their vocabulary, learning a foreign language, these things can all be done very, very easily once you have control of your own brain. One of the reasons why hypnosis does not work for these things typically is because a lot of people are not good hypnotic subjects. Therefore, they try these things, they try these self-hypnosis tapes, and they go to hypnotists, and nothing happens, or very little happens, or it wears off very rapidly, because they really weren't getting the effect that they were told about. So I'm not saying this would work for everyone, but it might work for a few people here and there. As I said, one of the key things is to always incorporate into this process the understanding that everything is artificial. Otherwise, if you start creating augmented reality that you can't differentiate from your actual physical reality, that can be dangerous. So there is the concept. I am going to wrap this up, and I will be back next time with something that bears no relationship to this at all. If people find this interesting, and if people have questions about it, you can of course put that down in the comments. If anybody has success with this concept, please let me know, because I would really like to hear about it. I myself have never succeeded in using this concept, because even though I paid a professional hypnotist to hypnotize me and set this up, it didn't work. The hypnotist said I was hypnotized, blah, blah, blah. I was not hypnotized. And I could get into why people try to push hypnosis as universally effective when it's not. Some of it's profit motive, some of it's other stuff. But that's going to be for another tape. So, let me know what you think, and if anybody experiments with this, has some good results, let me know. If you have feedback on it, let me know. It's just a concept that's been bouncing around in my brain for a long time, and seems like it has a huge amount of potential, but I personally am not able to implement it because I'm not a very good hypnotic subject. Alright, well, I'll see you next time, and have a good day. Bye.